Hello, this is Bob Gray Sr. Welcome to Ministry Moments. And straighten that tie out. What about that tie? Every Friday at 3 o'clock Central Time, we'll come to you with the broadcast. You can go to Ministry Moments YouTube and subscribe. Find Bob Gray Sr. there and subscribe. That way you'll receive this broadcast every Friday at 3 o'clock Central Time. And also, you can go to solvechurchproblems.com and subscribe there. That way, if you want to go back in the archives and look at it, you can. But there's also a lot of other things in that toolbox that I think would be of help to you. And I hope that you'll do that. I have a weekly blog that I put out every week. And so take advantage of it, okay? Well, anyway, this is Ministry Moments, YouTube and broadcast. And so today, I want to talk to you about the invitation. The invitation. On the average, from when I'm my 49th year of ministry, and churches on an average, 30 to 35% of the people who walk the aisle end up getting baptized. At LBT, we ran 85%. So I think a lot of churches are losing. I remember Dr. Michael Stoddard said that he doubled his baptism just like that by watching how we did the invitation. The guys at the Soul Winning Clinic, I wanted them to come early. I wanted them to come and be there on Sunday and even go Soul Winning on Saturday and see how it operated on Sunday. At the clinic, I think one year, I had a Soul Winning Clinic for 29 years. I did a complete invitation from beginning to end just to show the people how it worked. We baptized a lot of delegates that morning. Didn't count them. We didn't count them. But anyway, but a lot of people said that it just revolutionized their thought process about it. So I'm hoping I can verbally get this across to you. You'd have to see it to understand it. So we're talking about the invitation. Now, there were 70, number one, assigned workers. Assigned workers. We had 72 individual spots there was an X and somebody had to be there. So assigned workers. Now, part of that was name takers. At the end of each aisle, we had 2, 4, 6, 8 name takers. At the end of each aisle, on the front pew, we had little clipboards filled with decision slips. And I had a staff man responsible to make sure that thing was filled. Boy, if I went in there Saturday night to pray over all those pews and stuff and check those boards and they weren't full, I mean, buddy, I called him right away and said, look, you got to make sure those things are full. Most churches aren't prepared at all. It's like that young preacher told Moody, he said, well, we don't have many people walk the aisle. He said, well, you don't expect it, do you? No, well, that's the problem. So we had clipboards, small clipboards underneath the front pew. At the end of each of the front pews, we had a name taker. All right. We had altar workers. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 aisles. So we had men line up and ladies line up, ready to take converts upstairs and for baptisms. And so we needed altar workers, men and women lined up. We had the platform men. Now, I didn't have men on the platform just to have them on the platform. They were working while on that platform. First of all, every one of them, I gave them a section. We have 12 sections of the lower floor, 10 sections of balcony. I gave every one of them sections. And they were to look for, and I'll talk about it in a minute, unsaved people in those pews. And to be aware of the lost people that are sitting there in their pews. Also, they made a list of church members that were missing. Most people sit in the same section, but they had a card they filled out. So Smith's family missing, Jones family is missing, and write it down. When I got back in town on Wednesday, it was on my office door, the names of them, and then I would go through that. If I felt there was some that was a critical attention, then I would go check them. So they were there. Boy, you don't dare sleep on me while I'm preaching. No, you better not. You're there to respond. You're there to say amen. You're there to nod your head up and down. I had a 70-voice choir and a 40-piece orchestra. I didn't need some little old lady in the choir when I said something controversial, say, oh my, Harriet, he said it again. I don't need that. I would teach the little old ladies, smile, everybody, nod head up, down like that. If I said something controversial, I wanted them to say under their breath, I wish he wouldn't say that. I don't want drawn from they look at me and they say, man, that guy means what he's saying. But they look at the choir to see if they're agreeing with what I'm saying. And that's what makes a big difference. We're one mind, one place, one accord. We've got to be together on this thing. So assigned workers, we had 72 different spots, name takers, altar workers, men and women lined up, platform men would come down, and I'll talk about that in just a second, but they would come down, and because they've already scoped their section, some had the balcony, but they pay attention. There's lost people there. You pay attention to it now. And so they were workers. They weren't just sitting. They weren't my posse, like somebody said. That's your posse. That's not my posse. These are men that are working the invitation. Now, I'll tell you something else too. When they would go down and deal with a convert, because they were on the platform, that meant that the person visiting said, that guy must know what he's doing, or he wouldn't be sitting up there. And then if he couldn't help the fellow to see the need for baptism after salvation, then of course they would turn to me and go like this, and then I would come down. I remember one time this one guy, Vernon Britt, had this guy down at the altar, and he couldn't get him into baptistry. So he turned to look like this to me, and I came straight down. And the guy stood up and said, whoa, you're the main man with the main plan. I'll never forget that. It was hilarious. I wanted to dive in that water. He went up and got baptized. Anyway, funny story. So assigned workers. We had 72 different spots. Name taker, altar worker, platform man, baptistry people. We had robes and towels, somebody responsible for the robes and the towels. We had greeters that would stand at the door as they were led up. The greeters meet that door, open the door for them, and they would lead them upstairs. And then there was another name taker upstairs that wrote the name down upstairs. So they got their name written down twice. And then we would audio tape the baptism so that we had three ways. Mrs. Robinson, God bless her, she's in heaven now. She was my record secretary. And she would take what was at the altar, what was upstairs by the name taker upstairs, and what the audio was, and compared all three. And then she made sure that there was no duplication, or that we had somebody downstairs that went up and did not get baptized, to count them as, we had meticulous records. She was a tremendous record secretary. And if there was an issue with records, buddy, she was the referee. She threw the flag, and she's the one that was in control of that. I wasn't in control of the numbers. She was. I remember one time a guy in Arkansas attacked Brother Howes and me and other fundamental preachers because of baptizing children. And so Brother Howes called me and said, can I talk to your record secretary? I said, absolutely. So he got a hold of the record secretary, and he compared First Baptist Church percentages of children, junior high, teen, adult baptized. And they were identical. Our records were identical to his. There was no collaboration. She gave him the figures, and he put it together, and he wrote a book, Where Are the Nine? He preached it at the National Bus Conference in Bobby Robertson's church in defense of me. Where are the nine? He told me one time, he said, I wish you'd quit getting yourself in trouble. I'd keep bailing you out. But anyway, it was a little booklet that he wrote. I still have a copy of it. But it was amazing, though, to me, how the statistics were just right on. Okay, so assigned workers, name takers, altar workers, men, women, line them up, platform men, baptistry people, robes and towels, greeters, name takers upstairs, another set of name takers, and then tape the baptisms to make sure that you have. Now, there's been enough guys who've come to the clinic year after year after year. They know how to do this, but they don't do it. Some do. Some, like Dr. Michael Stoddard and Keith Bell and others do. But so I go back to some of these churches and I don't see the clipboards. I don't see name takers. I don't see altar workers. I don't see anybody prepared at all. One thing about it, but we were consistent with it, and it paid off. It paid off. Tremendous 4,464 baptisms the last year that I pastored. 153 of those are ones I led to Christ and brought to church. So we're talking about the invitation now. All right. I said, number one, assign workers. Number two, go from, okay, invitation. Just got messed up for a minute there. Go from the choir opener, talk about music now, to the choir special, to a singing group, to a solo. You are starting out with congregational singing. Everybody's got a songbook. The choir opener, then everybody gets a songbook and sings. The choir special, the singing group, then the solo. Brother Dr. Paul Duckett Jr. was sang the solo before I preached every service, every service. I like the continuity of it. I loved him. What a great spirit. He's in heaven now. 18 years we worked together. What a great, great servant. Great, one of the greatest Christians I've ever known. So it all went down to this, and then I got the pulpit, and then I preached. Now, at the invitation time, we took the songbooks out of the hands of the people. At the invitation time, but don't forget now, we have a choir opener, congregation, everybody's got their songbooks. I love songbooks, don't you? And open it up, and they would sing it. Then you'd have a choir, you'd have a choir special. Then you'd have a singing group. Then you'd narrow it down to a solo, and they hand it off to the pastor. The pastor would preach, and then we would go back. You go back to the choir. The choir sing the invitation, or have a group sing it, or have a solo sing it. But take the songbooks out of the hands of the people. Don't let them stand there, and teach them to come to the altar. Come to the altar, because there's got to be a movement. Now, when the altar workers start on the first stanza, when you have all these workers that are assigned, they start moving. The very first stanza of the invitation, the choir starts the invitation, they move immediately. There's movement, and there's people moving to go to the baptistry. There's people moving to go to the name takers. There's people moving to be altar workers. There's people moving to their position. Now that movement, it's okay. It's all right here. Come on. And then you have the church members coming to the altar and moving and coming to the altar. Then that makes it easier for people to respond. An unsaved man can respond to that atmosphere. Someone not right with God can respond to that. That your converts can come for baptism at that, because our altar was busy. But it all started, we primed the pump because we had everybody had places to go, and there was movement. There's movement. I preached and tried to, look, you need to come to the altar and help. And everybody standing there stares at you like a bunch of wooden Indians, and their horns are holding their halo up. But I'm just saying, I hope you understand what I'm saying. I assign altar workers. I've been through that. I go from the choir opener, congregational, choir special, a group special, and a solo. I'm narrowing it all the way down to the pulpit, hand it off to the man of God. He preaches the sermon, gets ready for the invitation. When he gets ready for the invitation, he's going to take the songbooks out of the hands of the congregation so they can move and come to the altar. Got it? We don't want them to stand with the songbook like and blocking so somebody can't move and can't come to the front. So all of that's intentional. All right. Now, at the end of the sermon, when I get through, get ready for the choir to start their singing, then what I do, everybody bow your head. Every head bowed, every eye closed. Don't forget now, the men on the platform are not a posse. The men on the platform are workers, and they have their sections that they're responsible for to keep the eyes open. We don't want someone to slip through our fingers and die and go to hell. We don't want that to happen. So at the end, we bow our heads. I ask for a raise of hands. If you know for sure today you died right now, you're going to have to raise your hand, shoot it up like that. Hands go up. Now, our guys on the platform are alert. They're paying attention to this section over here. People that did not raise their hand, okay? They're looking for that. There's a spot. I've got 5 in my section did not raise their hand. They don't know they're saved, all right? Then I ask, though, if you'd like to say, preacher, pray for me. I don't want to go to hell. Please pray for me. Would you raise your hand? All right, then that's time now for the unsaved to raise their hand. Let's suppose we got 5 in this section and that don't raise their hand. Then we have 3 that raise their hand. Okay, I know I'm responsible for that section. So I know how many unsaved people I've got in my section. I know. Now, one man pastor cannot take care of all 12 sections, all 10 sections, but he can stay behind the pulpit and orchestrate the invitation time with the people. You got it? You got it? Okay. If I need help over here, hey, we need some help over here. Hey, we need a deacon over here. And I, from the pulpit, then I can work all of that to make sure everybody's cared for. All right. So we bow our heads. We ask for those that are saved, raise their hand. And the guys on the platform are watching now who did not raise their hand. Okay, focus on that. Then, how many say, I'm not saved, pray for me. 3 hands go up, but he's got 5 in that section. He notes that in his mind. Again, they're not just a posse to sit up there to make it look like we're some big shots or anything. No, they're workers. All right. So now, okay, I've already mentioned about the raising the hands of those that didn't raise the hand. Mentioned no congregational singing. Use a group or solo at the end. The worker, the last point, and I'm through here. I may have been a little disjointed today, but last point is this: tell the workers to move on the first stanza of the invitation. So those that are in the choir, those that are in the congregation, wherever they might be, let's stand and let's sing. The choir will sing, and the choir on the very first stanza. That's when people start moving. People start moving. People start. Don't forget, I got 72 spots I've got to fill, and people start moving right then. And when there's movement like that, Satan will just love to freeze it. Just freeze it right there. Just cause a baby to cry or something to happen over here, just to get your attention off of this fact. And there's a spiritual warfare going on at that invitation time. Listen, I'm telling you, all the imps of hell are trying to keep, don't go, don't move, don't go. While the Holy Spirit's tugging at the heart. Come on, you need to come. You need to come to Christ. You need to come to Christ. I'm just saying that when there's movement, it breaks the ice. It's the first time I heard Brother House say it, in my mind, I disagree, but but he said soul winning is an atmosphere. And the first time I heard it, I had a tough time with it. But then after I was 49 years, going my 50th year in the spring, man, is it absolutely the truth. And so this is the invitation. I may have been a little disjointed today, but go back and listen to it again over and over again. I think you'll find something here that'll be a blessing to you. God bless you. Thank you for letting me share this time with you. This broadcast every Friday at 3 o'clock Central Time, Ministry Moments, YouTube. Go there and subscribe. Find Bob Gray Sr. and subscribe. That way you'll get it every week of the world. God bless you. Thank you for sharing this time with me.